Yes, my people, welcome back. Another Friday, and we are here with the blessings, man. All that life has to give, life has to offer. We are here once again on the Naked Truth, and welcome everyone for tuning in. As you can see, the title of the video today, that's what we're gonna do. We are actually on part two. Things was getting kind of interesting last week. We had to, actually was over the time a bit, but hopefully today we kind of clear up some of the understandings and misunderstanding of what is going on here. So we're talking about Bible as usual, and greetings in the name of the Most High, man, and blessings and honor and glory unto all our ancestors, man, and most of all, glory be and praises unto the Most High forever and ever, right? And that's how we feel here on the Naked Truth today here. So let me just try to get comfortable for you guys here, man. So we're feeling good, and as you know, as we're talking about how to identify the Hebrews today. That's the topic that we've been discussing, and as you know, you guys know who the Hebrews are, the Hebrew Israelites. That's what I'm talking, or that's who I'm talking about. As last week we talked about a lot of stuff, and people asked some questions about, it was a very interesting conversation, or you might say. We definitely covered, and you have a few questions. People say Islam, and there was a guy there. Let me try to thing to pull him up here. He was talking about an Islam, and how Islam was a beautiful religion. That was his take on it. You know. So there were questions, and I want to say, respect to everyone, big up to everyone, blessings to everyone, greetings to everyone, as we get deep into, the thing. So, how to identify the Hebrew Israelites today? Are the Hebrew Israelites are the Jews of antiquity, as modern, titles pertains, right? So, good evening, everyone, and what shall we do to inherit eternal life as an Hebrew, right? So there were some very interesting questions that were asked. Two brothers, two tribes. Cause we were definitely getting into what kind of separate everyone. That's what we were getting into. So Mr. Mind said we're all from Adam. Yes, we're all but we're all sons of Adam. This was Joseph. So James, Joseph, and where is it here? As human beings, we need to understand. Most definitely, we need to understand. There's definitely more information about Islam that we're going to pull up here. And because I want to make sure we can clear all these things up today. We should be followed, Adam. I'm not sure that question sounds a little way off. But yeah, I think I understand what you're saying. And, we kind of got into it a little bit late. So we didn't get to, kind of unlock a lot more than we wanted to. We didn't get to right and wrong. So Islam basically saying teach the knowledge of right and wrong, and essential parts of human nature. And Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world. In 1990, 1.1 billion people were Muslim, while in 2010, 1.6 billion people were Muslim. So, he's trying to get his points across based on what he knows. And we have Rosemary Fletcher that said she wants to go to heaven, right? I want to go to heaven. And we're going to get into all of those things. I have done many sins in my life. Yeah, a lot of people have done sins in their lives, Rosemary. But, heaven is a very sacred place and a place of pureness, enlightenment, righteousness in all levels. So it's So Islam is the fastest growing religion, and that was his topic. And you said again that Islam is very beautiful, or it's a very beautiful religion. If you read it once, you will understand it. And yeah, and that's basically Naharu Babu, right? That's, and I hope I'm not. And we will. So we're gonna start. Those who once read Islam accepted Islam because Islam guides every human being to the right path. And that's Mr. Nohoru. No, I don't want to say it's wrong. Nohoru Babu. And we have GM say some things. Rosemary Fletcher say some things. And mine say some things. And who wants to go to heaven? And we are all the sons of Adam and Islam, Naharu. I just call him Babu in the end, right? So there's a lot to talk about today as we're going to get into it. We had to actually rush out last week because there was, there wasn't much time to cover some of the things that we wanted to cover. So we had to leave, right, a little bit early. But today we're going to take some time and breathe a little bit and try to express ourselves more, right, and in identifying the truth. And I know there are people who have their own opinions, right? People who think they know the truth and they have the truth. People who believe these things because they were taught this from they were younger, and they think the only path, right, they need to take is that which is good, that they assume is good. So, of course, there are a lot of people who are holding on to their ways because they feel what they're doing is right 100%. And there's no problem with it, as you have many people who claim other identities and saying they're okay with it. And that's, that can be right. And it should be right. Right? So we're going to get into Bible because Bible is what we like to talk about. And we're talking about the Hebrew Israelites, right? And their place and how different they are from the other groups of people. So we have to talk about this because, in fact, you have a lot of people who keep confusing the idea, right? Are confusing the history and confusing what's written. Now we're talking about there's a translation from one language to the other. So, and during that time, we have to understand that there are things that are missing that we have to put in. We have to put in the blank spaces. These blank places, we have to fill them in, right? Because there are things that are not there. And because there are a lot of things that are missing, when they were doing the translation, are things that were taken out because it didn't go along with the other people. It didn't fit the other people's culture. So they wanted to change so it could be more easy for the other nations to accept this type of law, our teachings, right? Our history, right? So that was one of the problem, right? So a lot of things have changed. So how do we know, right? Because we're looking for concrete proof how do we know that the Israelites are different? And this is what we're trying to explain to everyone. This book, right? This book, right? We have read it. A lot of you guys have read it. I have read it many times. And reading this book, right? It's what you call the from the Egyptian viewpoint, they tell their own story, right? From the Ethiopian view, they'll tell their own. So every nation has their own story, experience that they went through had nothing to do with the other nation. It's just like today, Japan is in Japan, right? Japanese live in Japan, right? And that's where they live. Have their own culture, the things that they like, the things that they do. They had nothing to do with America or the policies in America. Now, we're not talking about what modern state is today and how people align themselves with each other, through trading and other commerce, whatever, right? That's different, right? Doing trading has nothing to do with your culture. You probably can learn something because you encounter someone, and if you like what they did or how they did something, you might adapt that, right? So we're talking about cultures that are separated and hadn't been into other cultures, because the Israelites, right, they didn't go into other nations to teach this, whatever they're saying this is today. They never did that. They weren't given the law to go out to teach anyone. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? The Most High chose them as a people so they could serve him. He didn't tell them at any point in this book, you need to go out and speak to the Gentile. Now, there is a passage when the Bible talk about the Gentiles. Now, when we read the book, then the overwhelming evidence in the book is mainly speaking about Israel, right? That's what the overwhelming evidence is pointing to. Israel, the Israelites, nobody else. It didn't speak about, the Canaanites, the Haggites, the Gergasites. It didn't speak about any of those people. It didn't speak anything about them, right? And their redemption in the end. Never. This book only speak about the people that wrote about themselves, the people that talk about their stories orally and write it. You understand me? So these people wrote things about themselves. Everything that they experienced was documented, right? The other nations, ancient, we haven't heard anything about them. The only thing we have heard about these nations is the encounter with the people that document their history. How do we know that the Babylonian exists? Because the Israelites talk about the Babylonians. The names can always change and people trying to put themselves within this history, right? But the only time we hear about other nations, right, we hear about the Canaanites. How did we hear about them? Because the land of Canaan was talked about, right? And it was given to the Israelite as an inheritance. And the people that were living there needed to leave from the land. This is how we know, right? In this present time, how we know, because there is not a history. The Canaanites today, our descendants of the Canaanites don't have an history to show that this is what happened when we encountered the Israelite. They weren't documented, right? Their life story, their journey was never documented. So therefore, there's not much history to go in details to find. Now you might find evidence that there are people within the area according to the map, not this map, but the original map. And you can say, well, okay, this is the area that they call Canaan or Canaan or whatever you want to call it, right? However you pronounced it. And because of that, so there's no archaeological evidence you might find, right, by digging and finding that, okay, where people were living here, so they left back evidence of themselves, right? You might have that. How much can you read from that evidence, right? Because it's been thousands of years ago, right? So we learn about the Canaanites because Israel had an encounter with them. We learn about the Babylonians because Israel had an encounter. The Greek because Israel had an encounter. So the Greek captivity, right? So we learn about all these things because Israel had an encounter. So there's a family of people, right, who traveled on their journey. And whenever they encountered things, they would write about it so that they would teach right? They're people about what happened to them in their past. Their children are descendants, right? That's what the Bible does, the history. This is a history book, right? They have encountered angels, so they spoke about them. There is not another culture outside that have the same. This is why everybody is holding on to this, right? These are the first writings. These are the first things that were documented by people, right, who had an experience within a certain era, within a certain time. So they write everything down. There's no book from the Babylonians to say, well, we're the Babylonians and we encountered Israel and they were in Egypt, right? Maybe many. Who knows? But we never know about them because there was a famine in the land, right? And because there was famine, these people went into Egypt. So there were other people who probably were living in the surrounding area where the famine was, had to go to Egypt as well. Right? How they didn't speak about the other groups of people in Egypt? Because they didn't have an encounter that, that would trigger, them to say, well, yeah, this is something that we need to write about. It didn't trigger them to do that. Right? So they didn't write about these people who they probably saw them and it was just a light encounter. It wasn't nothing of significant, as significant as some of the other encounters they have. So they just say, well, we met some people in Egypt, but they spoke about Egypt. They spoke about the encounter with Joseph, right? When they went there and how he treated them, and they wrote about their experience. What happens to them? When they were in Egypt, they spoke about the labor. This was very, it was obvious that they would have talked about this because they were that, well, this is something good we can discuss. Right? So they spoke about that. So all the encounters that the Israelite had, this is how we know about the other group of people. So there were, in fact, a people that were separated, right? The Most High separated them. So we're talking about Ishmael, Isaac, right? And we're talking about Jacob, right? And Esau. Separation all the way. The blessing went down to just the people that were selected, that were elected by the Most High, right? Now let's go to Hebrews 8, verse 8, right? A new covenant with the house, right? That they are the people, in fact, the people of the Bible. That's far from the truth, right? Far, far from the truth, right? So I just want you to know, and because we don't want to mix things up, and I want my people out there to understand that, yeah, we have gone through a lot. We have suffered. We have been through the worst, and we're still here, right? And we have to learn how to pick sense out of nonsense, right? And this is what we're doing here on The Naked Truth. So, of course, we have to talk about it. So let me find Hebrews, and then we're going to read, right? We're going to read Hebrews 8, verse 8, right? Just to get some clarity on what's going on. Okay. I hand of the throne of the majesty in the heavens, a minister, right, of the sanctuary and of the tabernacle which the Lord pitched, and not man, for every high priest is ordained to offer gifts and sacrifice, wherefore it is of necessity that this man have somewhat also to offer. Then now they're talking about the Messiah, right? For if he were on earth, he should not be a priest, right? Seeing that there are priests that offer gifts according to the law, who serve unto the examples and shadows of heaven, of heavenly things, as Moses was admonished unto the example and the shadows of the heavenly things. As Moses was admonished of God, right? When he was about to make the tabernacle. For he said that thou make it all things according to the pattern showed to thee in the mount. But now had he claimed a more excellent ministry, by now much also he is the mediator, right, of a better covenant, which was established upon better promise. For it, and these writings, sometimes we're reading these writings, and the people that took the information try their best to corrupt the information, right? To steer it in a certain direction. It was steered in a certain direction. So let's jump down now to it. For finding fault with them, he said, behold, the day cometh, said the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made, right, with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand and lead them out of, right? Let me get back to this. Because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, said the Lord. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws in their mind, right? And write them in their hearts, and I will be to them, I will in their minds and in their hearts, and I will be to them in their hearts, and I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, know the Lord, for all shall know me, from the least to the greatest, for I will be merciful to their unrighteousness. Right? So now we are a lot of times we're talking about their plight. We're talking about who they are today, what's going on. So when the Most High, he said he's going to gather them again, second time, right? The second time he gathered them. So we know the first time he had a hand in their deliverance, right? And that's during the Exodus from ancient Kemet, right? And he delivered them with open arms. He exercised his powers so they could see that he loved and cared about them. Now, people are still tied in the idea that we're all the children of the Most High and we're all the same. And we're going to break that down today because a lot of people, as these religions come about, right? Make note, because we want to make sure that everybody is getting, and greetings to everyone. Greetings to everyone. And I definitely hope you guys can hear me clearly out there. Greetings and welcome. So this book, as I've said it before many times, this Bible, right, that we called it. Today topic, we are talking about how to identify the Hebrews today, how to identify God's people today, right? And there's a huge problem in in modern society that everybody's trying to go around the truth. And because there's a certain people that fit the criteria and they don't want to acknowledge these people. So they often will create stories outside to say that these are not, and they have proof. And because they have their institution, they said because they have professors and who, if that is know them, right? And the Bible, who, we talk about the book, right? Whether the book is authentic or not, right? We have many videos, discussing, right, how authentic the book is. So basically, now we're here to discuss, because there's a few questions last week as some people left their comments, and we're talking about religion, and we're talking about how do we know without even the Bible, without these things, with even an idea about the Bible, how do we figure out the people and why there are no prophets, no priests, right? None of the things that you have read about in this book, you haven't seen them, anybody perform any of these miracles among any of the major religions that you know of today, right? So today we're not making up anything. We want to go straight to the core, and some people best get information, right? Because they believe in the society that they live, and if you don't give them meanings of words and certain things, they won't take it, right? So they want to take it because they have seen it, or they know that, well, I could go here as a reference and find this information. So it is well said for me, right? All right. So let's see. So let's see. I want to clear some things up today. Right. So now, what religion is today, and we speak about religion, and we're talking about the big religion, right? And of course, when we get to the definition of religion, it's a whole different thing from what's been practiced today, basically, right? So people join together, right? Saying that they believe in God, right? Now, and this is the problem. So not because we join together, and human beings on this planet have an idea that there is those realms, so they don't. They said, well, I don't know, right? But there are people today who, think about, okay, there is a God. The fact that we're here, the fact that these things are here, the fact that we're not responsible, right, for our own existence, it means that someone is responsible for us, right? So human beings on a whole have different ideas, right? So then you will come up and you'll try to pin this idea, because that belief that you believe doesn't mean that you recognize or find that there is a true God, right? Or your heart and desires is to find the true God, right? Your maker. So to find your maker, right? How do you find him, right? This is one of the problem that we need to resolve, right? How do you find your maker, right? Your maker, right? How do you find him? How do you do it, right? You can say many things. We can speak about many different things, but how to find him? How to find the creator, right? How to find him and have this relationship that Christians often talk about, right? And that's the problem. So we all have an idea. Imagine the one that created us, even though we say it out of our mouth, right? Like, okay, God created me, because somehow we use the term God, but God is not the name, right, of the creator, the person or the individual or the entity or the force or the consciousness that created all things. His name is not God, right? That's not a name. That's just a title, right? So people reference to this name because it becomes common among people. So they use this. So they'll say God, G-O-D, right? And this is the person that they worship to an extent, right? But their belief system is attached to other things. And this is where you know it's not a pure connection if we're dealing with spirituality, right? When you're dealing with spirituality, there's no blockage between you, right, and the ultimate energy. Then this ultimate energy would be the creator. So if you're connecting to this, it shouldn't be nothing there. So we attach ourselves. Majority of religion have a symbol. So they're dealing with symbolism. There's something because they don't have enough proof to say, well, yeah, our God is here. So they have a symbol of something to say, well, see, this, even an historical object, right? Or historical monument, right? Or an ancient relic of some proportion, right? And this is what they will do. They will hold to that and say, this symbolize what we're talking about. Because this was the stone that Moses did something to or what or not, and this is it. So we believe in this. As you have in Egypt, they look to the sun, and you have in India, they look to the cow and other different things just to fill, that lost, right, desire to find or to prove or to show some physical appearance in something. They just cannot hold on to the spiritual things, knowing that there is something there. And I know it, and I'm going to devote myself to this. They don't do that, right? And I'm talking about 99.9% of the population on the earth today doesn't do that. They need something to see. In order for them to connect, they have to see, well, I need to see this first. How do I know if I don't have this? So without this, they don't believe, right, in anything. So this is why we talk about, you have people talking about Jesus. And you have people talking about Muhammad. Right? And you have people talking about how they call God in their language. Right? Allah. Right? And you have people in India talking about Krishna. You have in Asia talking about Buddha. Right? And all these different things, right? People are talking about. Right? And they hold value to these. Do you know in Asia, the people are saying Buddha is there. They don't believe in no other God. Buddha is what they know. That's their culture. It's their custom. That's what they know. Christianity is slowly merging into these areas, right? After identity. Alone by themselves, it's difficult for them to figure out, like, what? So who am I supposed to pray? How do I pray? How do I pray to someone? How do I do it? What do I do? So they're looking for a group. Now this becomes religion, right? It becomes what we're talking about today as religion, right? So it's supposed to be a belief and worship of a superhuman power or powers, right? Especially a god or gods. Ideas about, here to say gods are gods. So there's two different things that it's talking about when we're talking about religion. So religion doesn't mean that there is a definite person that they're praying to or that they're worshiping, right? So when we say gods, it means we're talking about more than one. We're talking about a superhuman, right? Worship of a superhuman. Now, when we go to human being, we're talking about ourselves. Now, that's the difference with religion than spirituality. When we talk about spirituality and the creator and the essence of the Most High, we've gone into a whole spiritual aspect of things now. We're not talking about the physical anymore. So the word human doesn't exist there. Do you get what I'm saying to you? And because we talk about superhuman, we're looking, right, for something to fill, right, our deep search, or what we've been searching for all these years. So we need something to see. I'm looking, this is why we talk about faith, right? And what faith is, the evidence of things not seen, you never see it before. This is how deep you have to actually connect with faith in order to overcome these obstacles, because you have never seen it before. But because you're connected, right, to the spiritual realm, so you can identify these things. For a person who connected to the physical or looking for physical things, right, to fill their purpose, they have to see a face. They have to see things. This is why this Jesus image came about, right, in the early centuries, right? This painting of this Jesus and saying that this is God, and then he's the mediator between man and God, and he's God and he's the mediator, and the confusion behind this. And then you have another religion that came now and said, okay, we're not going to go this route where Christians are going. We're going this route. And they say Allah, right? And they call their religion Islam, right? They call their religion Islam. And that's what they did. So we have Christianity and we have two competition now. And people are, you know, when you talk to certain people about things, they're trying to bring numbers in. Oh, well, it's 1.6 billion. So I was talking to brother Babu, if that's your name. Doesn't matter whether it's 1.2 or 20 billion people or 200 billion people that is a part of the religion. Doesn't mean that the religion is right. Doesn't mean that it is perfect and right in every way. No, we can find comfort in things. We all have done it before. So because we're found comfort there, doesn't mean that that's what it's supposed to be, because we comfort ourselves with things saying that this is it, right? So everything is good. Doesn't mean that, my brother. We could say Islam, right, is a good religion and a peace, but what God are they serving in Islam? This is the point. It's not about recruiting people to become a part of something. It's what is the teaching, right? What is there to grasp from being a part of this sect, right? This group of people who claim, right, that they are in connection with the Creator Himself. They are in connection with the spiritual forces Himself. There are rules and regulation that men wrote in books, right, to keep people and say you have to follow. These are not things that were and Islam had. How did they get this information? And they were not the same people. And they're not practicing the same religion, but yet they share this information. And these two people are against each other. Right? These two religions today are against each other. They're not Islam, that's it. The biggest religion that you claim today, there is none. There is no prophet in Christianity either. Right? All the prophets that you've read about, right, are people of the tribe of Israel, a nation of people. A nation of people that are family members. They were the priests. They were, right, the prophets. After them, there is no one in the earth. No one. Right? And because these people are in their captivity today, this very day, this very moment, they're living in the land of their captivity. Don't know who they are. A lot of them don't know. They're lost. And they're living there, and they're in prophets and priests. It won't be through anyone else. It will only be through these people that the Most High communicated with. And this is the replacement theology that we talked about before, saying that they don't exist anymore, and these people, they sold out the Messiah, so the Messiah has nothing to do with them. But then we have read the book, and these are what the pastors are spewing out in churches, telling members of the congregation, right? Telling members of the congregation that the Israelites are not there no more, and they're the new. They are the new, so baptized and saved and born again and all this crap, right? They're telling them, oh, well, you know, there's a new religion. Oh, yes. This thing is doing that. I don't know why. I don't know why. So let me play this in the background for the meantime. Just one moment and let me see what's wrong with this. Yes, my people. So, I don't know. The internet is kind of, I don't know why it's showing. I kind of rebooted. So let's see if we're going to still have that problem. So, you know, We have two major religions, as I said, Christianity, and as these pastors will go up there and they'll spew these different rhetorics about the Hebrew Israelites and that they're not there anymore. As they sit and they will talk many things. I don't know why it's buffering today. It's really slow. Something is going on. But I guess we got to bear with it. Yeah, I see that. I see that it's loading. I don't understand why. I don't know. I tried to reboot just now, and just to make sure. One more time. The internet just get very, very slow. Yes, everything is fine. Everything is okay. It's just the internet keeps buffering for some reason. I'm trying to figure out what it is. I don't know why it's doing that. But it keeps stopping and going again, and it's stopping. Everything is fine. It's just something is wrong, I believe, with the internet. I'm not sure why service is down. Maybe it's the company having, because we never have this problem before. So maybe they're doing some maintenance or something, and it's affecting. What are we going to do? Yeah, maybe that's the problem. If it's gonna keep doing this, yeah. If it keeps it up, I will restart the stream again. And just take it from there. So I don't know what's going on.